They say that they are a community law firm. This is their community. They have an office in Northport. This story impacts them, and what they are trying to do is increase incentive out there for somebody to come forward and give information. And I was, just kind of going off the cuff here last night saying that I wouldn't be surprised if there was another law firm that ups the ante, so to speak, as far as trying to increase the compensation that there would be for someone out there with information. And we had a very interesting comment come in here earlier here, and it was a News Nation. I said we were going to take hashtag HeyJB, hashtag Hey Walt comments and questions, but we'll go back to hashtag News Nation here for just one moment. Melanie Edgar, if the parents help find Brian, or even family members, can they claim the reward? This is trying to keep the train on the tracks here, but this is this is the first question that we had pertaining to the reward here. I think first and foremost, there have been so many people that have just observed and thought it was extremely bizarre. Why aren't Brian Laundrie's parents out there looking for him? If he is a Carlton Reserve and he is missing, why aren't they out there? If it was my kid, Walt, I'm sure if it was your kid, 20 hours a day, and then the rest would be for eating and sleeping. But round the clock, give me the best boots that you can get from Bass Pro Shops. Give me the most high-powered flashlight. Give me something to protect me from the elements. A hat, a really really good survivalist hat. Get me out there. There's nothing that police or anybody with the reserve here could tell me to keep me away from searching if it was my child. And I'm sure that you feel the same here. So,
or at least come forward and make that plea that we've heard parents make before. We've heard it in movies. I think.
Come to the podium. Still, come out in front of the house and say.
That's all I'm going to say. But then again, the plea. I mean, you're assuming at some point that Brian has access to some sort of electronic device, which we have no idea whether or not he does. I get what you're saying. Do you
charging
why not
battery
make? And we don't know that they're not, but it seems as though they're not making, trying to push the search to find their son at this point.
Yep. I'd be out there day and night. I know there are a lot of parents out there shaking their heads or nodding their heads right now, saying that they'd be doing something. I'd be. There's nothing you can do. And at the very least, you're right, Walt. I would stand out in front of my house and look into the cameras and say, "Please, help me find my child." And we haven't
employee
heard that hasn't come out. And that in and of itself
will be Elizabeth Duran wearing
enough
all
for
black
people on social media here and for you or viewers watching wherever you are to say, that's not right. That's not right. Why aren't they out there searching or pleading for help?
To the PD,
and they could be pleading for help in their own way to the FBI and to investigators here who have said that they are cooperating here.
71544. Give me a 1025 a priority. Get a 52.
I have to. This is an important. I have to respond. Walt, can you continue the conversation here? I have to take this here for just a second.
Sure. So here's where we are right now. We know that we are talking about the search continuing for what is the fourth day, the sixth out of the last 7 days. They took 1 day off on Friday. The search began, just to look back, on last Saturday, a week ago, following the law enforcement entrance into the Laundrie home in Northport. And at that point, law enforcement was told that Brian's parents had not seen him since last Tuesday, which I believe is the 14th. So now they searched Saturday and Sunday. They entered from the Northport side. They took Monday off. There was a search, an FBI search of the Laundrie's house on that Monday, an extensive search. The parents had left at one point and came back. We do not know whether there was any questioning that went on at that point, but we know there was a search, and we know evidence possible evidence was brought out of the house. And then the search now has continued in devices like this. That's a swamp buggy going through the thick terrain of Carlton Reserve. 25,000 acres out there. We're told it's 75% water. There is a dive team as well. And they, again, are out there for the fourth day in a row, about 75 officers. searching what you're looking at right there, searching for any clues. And now a manhunt because on actually Wednesday in a news release that was released on Thursday, but in a warrant filed Wednesday, Brian Christopher Laundrie charged with and indicted with a charge of what is basically credit card fraud, and at this point accused of using unauthorized use of a credit card, of a debit card that is, related. They did not tell us whose debit card it was. There's a presumption it belonged to his fiancée, and it is the use of that debit card following the death of Gabby Petito. And the dates, again, are the 30th, 31st, and 1st, which sort of meshes with the time frame for when people have thought that the vehicle was drove back to Florida from the Wyoming area. Jackson, Wyoming was the last time that a Instagram or a social media influencer reported seeing Brian and Gabby fighting in a restaurant. The restaurant owner also confirms that they saw the people who looked like Brian and Gabby in their restaurant, reported it to the FBI. So now we have this tightened window of when the alleged crime may have happened, sometime before the 27th and the 29th. And that's where we are today. Again, day 6 of the search in Carlton Reserve. The last 4 days spent from the Venice side of that, just not only a huge property, JB, but also densely wooded. And these vehicles, I've never seen a swamp buggy before, but the necessity for something like that vehicle right there, obvious out in that area.
I might have to step away here for a very brief time, 90 seconds here. If I get a phone call coming up here, we're a lot fluidly happening here. And this is what happens when we're live on stream here, everybody, as far as, the 24-hour news cycle.
It's what makes your format so unique. I've
well,
said that
right, because something, if I have to take a phone call, a really important phone call, on what's going on here, I have to, and I have to step away here. So I'm just awaiting, whether or not I'll have to hop off. So Walt, I'm just giving you a heads up here. If I have to take this,
you want me to just?
If I have to take this phone call, I'm gonna switch over to Walt. Walt will speak for about 2 minutes, and I'll hop right back here on.
And if you
screen.
do that, I will take questions off my Twitter feed.
There you go.
Which they come in.
Thank you.
Josh
we've had
Benson
Melanie's.
Might be next, and he just walked in. We're rushing Josh.
We might have. I have to keep. This screen is important. I got to put this screen
absolutely
right here. Okay. So let's get to some more hashtag. Hey, we've had Melanie's comment up here, and Melanie and her partner, and
the app that lets you play official state lottery games on your phone. Jackpocket has already paid out over $60 million, including multiple million-dollar winners. Download the Jackpocket app and use code radio for a free Powerball or Mega Millions ticket. Code radio for a free chance to win. Jackpocket, the most.
Just the wording of this tweet is a little weird. Does the FBI is looking and can arrest people that make Brian Laundrie fake accounts to mislead the investigation? Thanks. So this is an interesting. All right. So let's address that. There was at one point a 2-second live, or a fewer than 2-second live Instagram live that appeared to be from Brian Laundrie's account, and people were commenting at me all day and night, even around the clock, saying, "Oh my goodness, there was an Instagram live where we saw water and it came from Brian's account." There's no validity to that, right. And it's very possible. I'm not saying that that it couldn't be true. What I'm saying is that there's nothing that has led us to believe at this time that's a credible thing. And you'd be surprised at how easy it is to fabricate that type of activity on social media. It's easy. And to Jade's comment here, Walt. If somebody does that, if somebody intentionally tries to mislead a federal investigation like this, somebody who makes a fake account and a fake video as a gimmick, or just to have their moment, on social media, is that something that they can prosecute?
I would have to look that up. I don't know. That's a very modern crime, right?
It is. That's not a crime that exists 15 years ago.
I would bet if it was extreme enough that it could be prosecuted with, and there might even be a law about that. It sounds like interfering with an investigation, obstruction, some sort of thing. But it would have to be a major. There would have to be a major impact on the investigation. I don't think the FBI is going to run to a new location every time that somebody puts something on Instagram or on Twitter. But it is obnoxious, and it is not always a crime when you're obnoxious. Or I would have been arrested a long time ago. But seriously, I don't know if that is.
And let's be real. The focus for federal investigators right now isn't these, a fabricated video or picture here and there. And I know there's a lot of comments in the queue about Canada, potential sightings in Canada. And again, we, because of how many adept people there are with programs such as Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects, Adobe, hello.
It's so much easier.
So much easier to fabricate things.
It gets easier every single year to fabricate. It's something, by the way, we are very alert about. With our parent company and here at WFLA, we are double, triple checking, quadruple checking things because of that fact that accounts can be spoofed, fake text messages, all that stuff. And so we are careful because, hey, everybody, that is the definition of fake news. It's not the definition we've heard over the last few years. That is the definition of fake news. It doesn't exist. It's made up, and we are leery of that. I'm sure the FBI is leery of that as well.
Walt Buteau, JB Buno here with you live, and again, we'll stay rooted in reality. That's our commitment to you. And there's okay, I got to keep things focused on the comments that are coming in here, the questions and comments that are coming in here. And again, if there's information that I can share to you, our audience here, I will pass that along. You have my word. We are as transparent here, but we also, I think that if our audience here has watched for long enough now, they know that we are going to give you information when we can report that information, and we don't know exactly what's happening at this moment as far as the search efforts there. Let's show you a live picture of the home base of the search efforts here. That's live here. You can see a media member there off in the distance doing a report on air. And these are some of the cars here that are parked near Carlton Reserve, or at Carlton Reserve, really. And this is, again, live from Carlton Reserve here. But we haven't, Paul Lamison noted that the search looks very different from the air today. Very, very different. In fact, Paul was noting that he was, with how vast the area is, they've had difficulty from the air. Eagle 8 HD has as far as finding search crews on the ground in the ATVs and in the swamp buggies. So that could be for a couple of different reasons. The search could be moving and expanding and growing and focusing on different areas. And also at the same time, let's not forget that the TFR altitude has been increased. So Paul, the higher up that he goes, we can only zoom in so much. We have a state-of-the-art camera on Eagle 8 HD, but we can only zoom in so much. And he's at an altitude of about 1,500 feet. Eagle 8 HD is when he's over the search zone, when Paul's over the search zone. So there could be several different reasons as to why we have been having difficulty finding where the most concentrated search efforts are today at Carlton Reserve. But around this time, afternoon-ish, every day, Josh Taylor, Public Information Officer and Communications Manager for Northport Police, has been sending out updates, and we could get that update here, Walt, in the hour ahead here. I know that Josh Benson is standing by here to swap in with you here next. Walt, before we lose you here, what are you tracking here at this hour? Anything new coming in, and what are you going to be monitoring here in the hours ahead?
We're going a little deeper, we hope, at least, into the one-count indictment, the one-page indictment, to sort of get a better idea, give our viewers a better idea of this aggregated $1,000 allegedly used through an unauthorized use of a Capital One bank card that we believe belonged to Gabby Petito. And the use of that started out, as we've said many times, 30th, 31st, and 1st. which would coincide with the 3 days that we believe, or the period that we believe Brian Laundrie was traveling back to Florida. And we have there's road cameras that capture that van coming into Florida, I think around 10:30 on the 1st. So $1,000 spent illegally, according to the feds, spent from the 30th to the 1st. And there, we have some reports of sightings at gas stations along the way that we're trying to track down. So we're working on that, and also working on a story about this now condensed timeline. This the truly tragic part of the timeline. A fight in a restaurant in Jackson, Wyoming, and then between that on the 27th and the 30th, which is when the use of this credit card, this debit card happened. We believe that is sort of a very key period, a horrible period of time in Gabby Petito's life. And you know, you've said it many times. You know, we don't lose sight of the fact that this was a smart, goal-oriented, telegenic, if you will, not that necessarily that matters, but still somebody who had gone out there, welcomed many people into her world, and showed these, you know, they were beautiful pictures of a part of the United States some of us may never go to, right? It's a beautiful part of the United States, natural landmarks, and to think that it started in July and ended this way, and we, like many others, are going to follow this to its conclusion and try to bring you the information in a very responsible way, sort of to help our viewers understand exactly how the process is working with this and what's being done by law enforcement to get answers and find a man who is still a person of interest, although in the homicide investigation, but a full-on suspect in this credit fraud case. You know, one quick point, not to make light of it in any way, but this, you know, again, person of interest in the homicide case, but the fact that this indictment gives the feds more power to potentially bring the parents in for questioning and under oath, but also more power in their search. I mean, this is the most extensive search for a credit card case probably in our history, but it is an important step for the feds to be able to sort of tag a crime an alleged crime to Brian Laundrie's name.
Walt Buteau, give him a follow, folks, on social media here. And Walt, where can they find you? What's your account on social media?
WFLA Walt, all of our accounts. So
there's
WFLA.
No other Walt at WFLA. You got that? You got that account, huh?
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Walt Buteau, everybody joining us here, everybody on WFLA now,
and that's the Facebook page too. But I appreciate the follows. Try to answer as many questions. Got just bombarded with questions and some solid tips or some ideas on where we go next with our stories. You know, I at first I was able to answer them all, but like you, it's been hard to keep up. But I do plan on doing that in my spare time, just because I think, you know, I appreciate people who reach out to us. And, you know, those social media accounts for us is not about monetizing anything as it would be maybe about Instagram, or for us and for me especially, as I say in my bio on WFLA, I waited tables in college. I still work for tips, right? It's all about tips, and we'll track down any tip about this story or any other story that is worth tracking. We do that. That's really what we do.
And really, here's the thing too, folks. It's difficult for us to get to all the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt questions and comments while we're on the air, but Walt's been doing a phenomenal job as far as addressing some of the comments that have been coming in on his actual WFLA Walt Twitter and Facebook account. So give him a follow, folks. If you've been, I know that there's frustration out there from people that have been trying to get through and get their comments animated up here on screen. It's because we receive thousands, really tens of thousands of comments per day with the hashtags. It's really difficult for us to get to even 1% of them. So we're going to do our very best here to answer more. But if you want a more direct line of communication to us, you can follow me at WFLAJB on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Walt Buteau on the social media platforms there as well here. All right, folks. I was just informed here a short time ago. Walt, thanks a lot. We'll catch you soon. I was just informed here a short time ago that right before Eagle 8 HD was diverted to Hillsborough County, that Paul left us a Look Live report here. So this was Paul Lamison about an hour ago here over the Carlton Reserve.
We're over the Carlton Reserve, and you're looking at the command center of the manhunt for Brian Laundrie. The only new breaking news that we have so far today is the temporary flight restriction, or TFR, is up at 1,200 feet. It had been down to 400 feet, really to prevent drones from flying and getting in the way of the searchers. Right now it's up to 1,200 feet, so we are flying at 1,500 feet above the TFR. The difference is we're just a little higher than normal, so we can still see the area, and we're still watching the search area, and we're still watching as they fan out into this vast area of Carlton Reserve to search. And we'll be over here and let you know if anything new happens in Eagle 8 HD. Paul Lamison, 8 on your side.
Back here with you live on WFLA Now. Back to the next contributor here, everybody. You know him well. It's JB Squared now.
That's
Josh
right.
Benson, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. And I think we're moments away from being joined by Allison Henning, who might have an update for us here from Carlton Reserve. So the very latest on where the search stands right now, the manhunt for Brian Laundrie. Josh, what's caught your attention here at this hour?
Well, I'm catching up on everything. Obviously, we had talked about yesterday if it was even going to be a search today. I remember the PIO sent that out yesterday, wondering if there was going to be a search. Obviously, they're back. They got there early. I saw that they adjusted the flight restriction a bit. I saw Paul's update on that. And the buggies are back out. Is this today video? Yeah. The buggies are back out, full force. What a development last night, though, with the federal warrant. I mean, that kind of came out of nowhere from FBI office in Denver. That was a big deal because obviously this turns this into a manhunt now, and this is the first day of searching for someone who's wanted as opposed to someone who's missing in this case. So I'm happy to see them back out there today. I didn't know what was going to happen today, if they were going to even be back there. So it's good to see them out there. I know that's a tough job. Look at the video. It's incredible. The heat. It's one thing to see the conditions out there and how bumpy and the landscape, but you think about the humidity, JB, you know how humid it is. It's cooled off a little bit. This morning was actually pretty nice, but
We were talking yesterday about how big my hair gets during the summer.
right,
You want to know why? It's Florida humidity, and that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it.
Yeah, I know the pain.
But it's daunting out there for crews. These are challenging conditions.
Yeah. And so I think how many days they've gone on now? This has been several days, if not weeks, of searching. So it's good to see that they're still back there.
Josh, I want to let you know the same thing that I had to let Walt know here a moment ago, and I'm being very candid with our audience here. I am expecting a phone call here in a few minutes that I have to take. And if I do get that phone call, I'm going to have to scramble very quickly here to get...
The captain of the ship is leaving?
The captain of... No, well, you're the captain of our ship for...
I can manage while you're gone.
Thank you.
We'll keep it afloat.
We'll keep... Yes, we'll throw Josh here on screen. And again, I've been told now that I am going to receive that phone call in just a few minutes here. And if I can, I will share a little bit about that if I can. There's
So it's a good phone call?
It's yes, it is a good phone call. Okay. It's a good phone call.
A business call or a personal call?
No, it's
Am I getting too deep in the weeds?
It's not a personal call.
Oh,
well,
good.
It's personal to me, but I can't.
Look at the tease he's got.
I'm not trying to tease people. I'm just letting you know that if I have to dip out of here really fast and I have to throw you out.
This is what happens when you're big time.
No, I'm not big time. That's not how this works. I appreciate everybody. Josh is.
We got to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, Josh is the man, a pal of mine here at WFLA. And,
is that the call?
That's not the call.
Oh, okay.
That's another call.
Sorry, I was getting excited.
There's a lot of phones, a lot of screens.
Wire in here. So we can at least
my viewers, our viewers, have my word. Is what I'm trying to say. That if I can share a little bit about that phone call, I will.
Great.
I will, and if I can't, I can. It's just a matter of circumstances here, and it's a matter of being a good person in this world and being an honest reporter. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron to some. I know that there are people out there that have been criticizing the media in recent years for this and that, but you know what? Journalists have hearts too. We do have hearts, and we do try to treat the stories that we cover with compassion and with the accuracy that they deserve.
Absolutely.
We're going to try to get Allison Henning. I believe that she's on standby here, and we're going to be bringing her in here momentarily in the next couple of minutes for an update from Carlton Reserve once we get her lined up here and in position from Carlton Reserve here. Again, JB Buno, Josh Benson. You can see the new hashtag here, #HeyJosh. and of course, hashtag AJB. That's always pretty much here on WFLA Now. We'll take your questions and your comments coming in here, and we'll try to take this next one that just came in here a moment ago.
Did you go over, I think it probably did the memorial service, the visitation for Gabby Petito. Did you go over those details?
That's a good opportunity. I have not had a chance to read them thoroughly yet. And that was all happening while we were starting our stream.
So what do you got? A few hours ago, but I can go ahead and bring you up to speed on that. I've also posted on my Twitter. If you go to twitter.com/WFLAJosh, I'm posting constant updates there throughout the day. But this memorial visitation for Gabby Petito has been announced. It's happening on Sunday from 12 to 5 at Maloney's Holbrook Funeral Home. It will be open to the public. It's in New York, Holbrook, New York. It's 825 Main Street, Holbrook, New York, 11741. So that has been announced. And since that was announced, we did get a tweet from Joseph Petito, the father, and how heartbreaking to have to tweet that out. A picture of his daughter, again, on my Twitter feed if you want to check it out. Services for our sweet Gabby will be held at Maloney Funeral Home in Holbrook on Sunday, September 26th from 12 to 5. Thank you to all for your support and love. So a sad update, but nice to see they're moving forward with closure and getting that memorial visitation in place. I know there was some questions yesterday as to when that could happen, how fast they could do that, how fast they wanted to put that together, but that is set. So we'll have updates on that for sure. As of today, in terms of other updates, I'm sure you guys have been going over the Carlton Reserve. That's usually what the day's events are about. And the conditions out there, there were some pictures that were sent from Josh Taylor, the PIO, and some video about just the conditions. Obviously, they got some rain throughout the day because they're in some major puddles with those swamp buggies. And also with the airspace, there's a new flight restriction there that has been raised a bit. We heard that from our pilot and our helicopter reporter, Paul Lamison. He brought that up too. I think that was, let me go back to my notes on that, just so you guys are aware. I'm sure you talked about it. There's now a new temporary flight restriction, TFR, up to 1,200 feet over Carlton Reserve. It had been at 400. And Paul says we can still fly at 1,500. So that was about 3 hours ago.
Let's bring in, and I'm going to step aside here. I'm going to let you talk with our of course, our esteemed reporter joining us from Sarasota County, Florida. Of course, Venice, Florida, where the search continues, the manhunt continues for Brian Laundrie. We're now bringing in 8 on your sides, Allison Henning there. No, that was still the button here for News Nation. Brian Enton will come back to actually.
He's running so fast we don't even see him. He's so busy.
A lot of touchscreens here. Now we have Allison here on screen. Hey there, Allison. What do you got? What's going on there where you're standing? I'm sure the search efforts, of course, the manhunt continues on, and we were talking whether or not there's new life here in these search efforts, in this manhunt that is ongoing here for Brian Laundrie now that we have a federal arrest warrant.
Yeah, so day 6 of ground searches out here at the Carlton Reserve. You know, there hasn't been as much activity from what we could see, obviously, at the entrance. Of course, we cannot go inside. I know when Paul was flying overhead earlier, he saw them meeting right around 9:30ish. And then shortly after that, when he flew back out, he was texting me. He let me know that it appears that the search efforts today are actually a little bit over on the east side, closer to where they were searching over the weekend. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the ground searches appear to be focused more on this Venice side, but that's kind of where he was looking today, you know, from the chopper, obviously having to be a little higher up today because of those flight restrictions. But he didn't see anything. He was asking me if I was aware that they moved somewhere else, but he finally made it over to the other side. Of course, it's 25,000 acres, so it's a pretty large preserve out here, and noticed that more of the activity was actually happening on the other side, the Northport side of all this, by the Mayacahatchee Creek Park, I believe is what it's called. Forgive me if I'm not saying that exactly right. But yeah, so that's kind of an interesting development today. Of course, we've seen those swamp buggies, the ATVs. Of course, we've seen some of those underwater. We've seen the boats, the divers, all that over the last couple of days. But in terms of activity coming in and out today, it has been kind of slow, honestly, compared to the last couple of days. One thing that we do know, there has been a lot more manpower out here. Yesterday, the most manpower we have seen out here all week, I think 75 individuals from 16 different agencies, which was a big jump from what we were seeing earlier in the week.
Yeah, Allison. Hey, it's Josh. Good to see you again. I was out there with you on Monday in front of the house in that torrential downpour. So, first question: have you seen rain like that since you've been out there?
No, thankfully not for all of us, right? Especially for those crews out there. I'm lucky enough to have an umbrella overhead protecting me from the sun right now. But yeah, the umbrellas the other day when we were getting those torrential downpours really weren't doing us much good because it was just such heavy rain. So I can't imagine what that must have been like for the people who are out here searching. But no, thankfully not. It's actually been a bit drier. I was talking to JB about that yesterday. The oppressive heat, I think when you were out here, was definitely oppressive heat. It was very humid. As soon as you step out of your car, you start sweating. It's actually been a little bit drier out here, which I think is good for everyone. It's good for us, and it's definitely good for, the folks who are out there searching in this heat.
Yeah, great. And a lot of people are talking about that reserve still, even though we've been out there for many days, and just trying to gain an idea of the sheer expanse, how big it is, that 25,000 acres. But when you're out in front there, are there several roads that go into it, or is there one entry point? How is that broken down when you kind of drive around the perimeter?
So we're actually standing on Border Road right now, and if you look behind me here, I'll have Justin kind of zoom in. There's kind of that dirt, it turns into from a pavement road into a dirt road, and that is Border Road continuing on. And that appears to be kind of like their southern boundary line of the search, according to what Paul has seen over the last couple of days from the sky. And where that sheriff's office vehicle is right there on the left, on the north end here of Border Road, there is another roadway that kind of goes up and around. So we've seen officers, deputies coming in from actually both. More so making that left turn here onto South Moon Drive, but we have seen some also going straight down Border. But again, in terms of seeing activity from here, we really can't see much except for them coming in and out, coming in the morning, and then of course coming out in the evening with all of that gear covered in mud, really.
Hey, just got a quick question from Eli Wolf on my Twitter account asking, will there be a live stream feed for the Gabby service? Eli, good question. I'll look into that to see if we can get an answer for you, because that, again, is on Sunday from 12 to 5, I believe. So that is open to the public. We will track that information down. But again, that just came out earlier today, so we will find out. Allison Henning is live outside at the Carlton Reserve. You've been out there a few days now, so you say not too much excitement actually out there today. Is it, the governor put out a tweet the other day saying he was going to increase resources for, those who are out there working. Yesterday, 75 crews, 16 different agencies, or 75 individuals. Is it a bigger increase today that you've noticed, or about the same?
Actually, we don't have that information just yet. We kind of stay in touch with Northport PD because they are kind of the lead in terms of this local search under, of course, the FBI's criminal investigation that's ongoing. And they usually send us an update right about now. I'm actually going to peek in my email here real quick and see if we do have any sort of an update from them.
Yeah,
not that I see just yet.
Okay, while you do that, JB stepped away and I don't have access to the comments. So if you guys want to leave comments on twitter.com/WFLAJosh, I can grab some right here, like Eli's question just now. And if you have any questions for Allison, let me know.
Yeah, I don't see an update from Northport PD just yet, but usually we get that probably within the next hour, and they've been doing a really good job of telling us exactly how many people are out there. I think on Tuesday it was 40, 50, the next day 10, 12 more, and then of course 75 yesterday. And I believe when they first started this, it was 8 agencies. So they've doubled the number of agencies that are out here now, of course, from all across the region. We've seen Bradenton, and then there's, of course, the state agencies. We've seen FWC. Actually, FHP was out here yesterday. I know they were utilizing their drones as part of the search yesterday. So, yeah, it's really pretty expansive.
And it's interesting, this is the first day of the search after the federal warrant went out, and this changed from a missing person investigation now to a criminal investigation and a manhunt, essentially. I'm curious to know if they are going to change their strategy at all. I mean, their strategy is pretty broad, just search as much as you can with the fewest amount of resources you have. But I'm anxious to see if they say anything about the fact that now there's a warrant and there's more immediacy to find this guy.
Right, yeah, I'm curious about that too. We talked about, I feel like the investigation or the search out here yesterday intensified a little bit just in terms of those numbers, but of course we got that information about that warrant later in the day. So yeah, I'm curious to see that as well. It's interesting that Paul noticed them kind of focusing on the other end today, because it has been pretty consistent on this side, pretty focused actually. I know yesterday the commander who is leading this for Northport Police, he told us that basically what they were doing is breaking these teams into different groups and sending them to specific areas that they had marked, and then doing a line search in those areas or a grid search through those areas. Not sure if that strategy has changed today. Obviously they are in a different area, so we'll have to kind of wait and see in terms of what kind of coordinated efforts are happening today, especially if we're talking about the other side of this preserve. I mean, we're talking about different cities. I'm in Venice right now. The other side is on the Northport end, closer to the Laundrie's house, actually.
That's how big it is. Yeah, it's crazy. I've been waiting for numbers from them. I don't think I've heard anything about the like when there's a wildfire, it's 20% contained. When there's a search like this, is it 50% covered? Have they given you any kind of number of how much ground they have covered since the start of this search?
So I did ask that question to Northport Police yesterday, and I asked either, for an acreage count, obviously 25,000 acres, or I asked for a percentage of the total. Unfortunately, he was not able to give me an exact number. He said, we've covered thousands. They've been doing those ground searches. They also did aerial searches. He said, technically from the aerial perspective, we've been able to cover it all, but from the ground searches, he wasn't able to give me even a percentage on that.
Right. And no idea of any upcoming news conferences at all. Rich Jansen wants to know if police or FBI stated are going to give a news conference on the search, the arrest warrant, or anything. Have we heard internally on any news conferences coming up? I haven't specifically. I don't know if you have.
No, I have not either. And, I wonder if that would happen here or if that would happen somewhere else. Of course, we've got, the New York element, we've got the element out west, and we've got the element here in Sarasota County. So not that I have heard, and that information I believe would come through FBI Denver at this point.
The boss on Twitter, on my Twitter account, asking this question: is today expected to be the final day searching the reserve? When will it be open to the public? So we assume it's closed to the public because it's an active search. Do they have any idea when that could resume, or it's kind of a day-by-day thing?
Yeah, I think it's a day-by-day thing. This area, I think it's pretty heavily traveled by people who like to bike, right? So we've seen people trying to go in to try and get on the trails out here. Actually, I talked to one guy who lives in Nokomis. He said this is a pretty regular spot for him to come, not so much in the rainy season, but he did come to check it out today, but he was not able to get on the property. So I imagine as long as this search is going on and as long as there is probably an open investigation, it's probably going to be shut down to the public for some time until they clear this area, really.
Colleen Kane asks, has there been confirmed information to indicate that Brian even entered this reserve? And as far as I'm concerned, it was mostly coming from the parents saying he had mentioned to them, according to them, that he went there to meditate. His car was there. They went to pick up the car from the reserve, and I think that's what led the authorities to start searching this area. And again, yesterday we had a pretty in-depth conversation, JB and I, about how we don't know everything. Obviously, the police know, and this could be. They could have a lot more evidence as to why he could be there, and if that's even the case. But as to answer your question, Colleen, I don't think we have definitive proof that he was spotted there or was seen there, unless, Allison, you have something different.
No, that's right, Josh. So, I mean, it's 1 week now. Today marks 1 week since Brian Laundrie's parents reported him missing when, they invited the officers with the Northport Police Department, the FBI, into their home, and then they came out and we later learned that's what they were talking about, that he is missing. So all that information, they said that they had last seen him on Tuesday, I believe it was the 14th, and they said that, he left with hiking backpack and everything like that, and they said that he came out here, but again, all that information is according to the parents, and that's the information that law enforcement is going off of. But in terms of withholding information, they've been saying this since the beginning. Obviously, this is a very complex investigation. It covers so much ground. And they said that's really important for them to do, to protect the integrity of it, because there are so many different elements in different places. Right. There's social media, there's tips coming in from people all across the country. So, there's definitely, I think, a lot of information that we do not know, and there's a reason for that.
JB's back. Did you get your phone call?
I did, and I can share some details. Allison, anything else before we let you go? I've been off stream here for just a moment, but anything else before we let you go?
No, that's it for now. I mean, we're going to keep monitoring the activity out here, and I'll have reports at 4, 5, and 6 tonight, so anything new, we'll certainly be including it in those reports.
Quick question, Allison. One last question from Shelby. She wants to know from Allison if you've seen the lawyer for the Laundries out there, either at the home or the search area at all through your time out there.
No, we have not. Yesterday, actually, when we saw that vehicle leaving the property and everything with a marked police vehicle, we later learned that they went to Orlando to meet with their attorney. I was curious, where did they go? Did they go to the police department? Did they go to the site here? But we found out they went to Orlando to meet with the attorney. But no, we have not seen the family or any attorneys out here on the grounds that we have at least been made aware of or been able to see with our own eyes at least.
8 on your sides, Allison Henning reporting for us at Carlton Reserve. Allison, Josh, thanks a lot for carrying on the conversation here. Allison, we'll let you get back to it. And big thanks to Justin out there as far as your photographer doing a phenomenal job out there. Pass along our best to Justin. All right, back here with you live, everybody, on WFLA Now with Josh and myself. Okay, so Josh, it was a tease for me to say that I had a very important phone call to take about 10 minutes ago, and it was an extremely important phone call. And so first and foremost, I want to say that I'm allowed to share out this information unless, it's right here. Let me just show it to our audience because it has to do with these, the bracelet that I'm wearing here, the prayers for Gabby bracelets. So let's kind of talk about that here for a second. There you go, Colin.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter about that.
All right, so here's the phone call that I just took here a moment ago was a FaceTime phone call with Nicole Schmidt, with Gabby Petito's mom. I have been in touch with Gabby Petito's mother. The Gabby Petito family, the Schmidt family, has been watching us on WFLA Now, watching us. And they've been very touched by how we have approached this story with compassion, that we have approached this story with accuracy. They, even with all of the grief that they are currently experiencing, I guess the warmth that we have tried to wrap this story in, as far as this being about Gabby. And yes, there's a manhunt underway. And yes, that's what, of course, people want answers for. But why do they want answers, Josh? They want answers because they want justice for Gabby.
Sure.
And so we have really tried to keep that at the core of our message and at the core of our reporting here on WFLA Now. And that has reached the ears of Nicole Schmidt and of the entire Petito and, really the Schmidt family. They've been very touched. And I've been actually in contact with them over the last several days, but I could not really necessarily share all too much about that because I promised the family that I wouldn't. And I told them that I would only share what they want me to share. And that's a very important thing for us to do as journalists here. We're not here to get us, to scoop somebody in grief like that. We're not here to capitalize on somebody's tragedy and the heartache that they are experiencing here. I can't speak for others out there, but I know that the good journalists in this world would never do something like that. It's about telling a story with compassion and with accuracy, and Josh knows exactly what I'm talking about here. And there's local journalists across the country that really do value that part of the job. And what has happened over the last week is that our WFLA Now live streams here have reached the Schmidt family, and they've reached out. They were the ones who reached out to me earlier this week. It was a message of sincere appreciation, and then some, there have been some phone calls, a lot of text messages, FaceTime. And I grew up in New York. I grew up in Queens and then Long Island. I know where their community is. I know how this community rallies. I have very interesting, just random connection over the course of just getting to know this family over the course of the week. I have very random, can you believe it connections.
Small world stuff.
Even in New York can be a small place, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so I just got off FaceTime here with Nicole Schmidt, with Gabby Petito's mother. And it was a brief call. It was just to kind of catch up, and I wanted to just talk to her really briefly as far as sharing out a message here for the family. The family wants justice for Gabby. They do. They want justice. But they also want this to be treated with the fact that this is all about Gabby, and Gabby was a wonderful human being, a phenomenal person. She lit up the world. She lit up this family. they're grieving right now. And what they have done here to try and symbolize and bring it all together and symbolize her memory is this right here, these bracelets. Now, family, friends of the family, and I want to make sure that I have my facts right. The family has been dealing with funeral arrangements. Josh was sharing out the funeral arrangements here just a moment ago. The family has been dealing with funeral arrangements. The attorney, Richard B. Stafford, of course, and it's been a team effort there as far as the Schmidt family, as far as putting all of this together is to honor Gabby and to give her, of course, the funeral service that she deserves because she has touched the world. Her social media posts, her YouTube videos, her wonderful smile, all of it has touched the world, and they are trying their very best here to put together a funeral service that is befitting of Gabby's memory. But the family's friends have rallied here, and they have put together these beads, these bracelets, and this is the Prayers for Gabby bracelet right here. And I've been receiving. We talked about this yesterday, and when we talked about it yesterday, I told our audience here that at this time, and it remains at this time, they're not selling these bracelets. It's not a bracelet that you can buy. There's so many people that want to help out this family. Mm-hmm. They want to help out this family so badly that they would, if this was a $20 bracelet, even though it's probably less than $1 to make at your local arts and crafts store, they would pay whatever if it meant helping out a family that is in tremendous grief and has had their world turned upside down. And at this time, they could change, but at this time, these bracelets are, and this is directly from Gabby's mom, Nicole Schmidt, who I just spoke to on the phone moments ago, saying that the bracelets right now are for the family, close friends of the family, and those that they want to give the bracelets to, and I am honored. I'm honored here to have touch this family. I am honored here to have had, I've tried to display some compassion here in this story, as have had our entire WFLA team, Josh, Walt, Allison, everybody has been trying to treat this with compassion. And I would just like to share that I'm extremely honored to wear this bracelet, and I will continue to keep this as focused on Gabby as we can. We have to, of course, keep you updated on the facts of this case and where things stand right now with the manhunt. People want justice for Gabby. We have a responsibility here, professionally, of course, here to keep things honed in on what we know right now as far as the exhausting law enforcement effort that is going on to find Brian Laundrie. But we also have a duty here, a commitment here to you, a promise to keep things focused on Gabby Petito and shed light on her in the way that the family wants. And it's a positive, shining, bright light, and we're going to continue to do so here. And so what we have for you on WFLA.com is we have a message from the family, some words from the family about how they want Gabby to be remembered. It's going to be available to you on WFLA.com and the WFLA app here momentarily, as we understand it. These are some of the words that they shared with me in some conversations over the last few days. And the FaceTime call, Josh, a few moments ago was with Nicole Schmidt. I just wanted to be 110% sure that she was comfortable with me sharing a little bit about how they want Gabby to be remembered, the words, be very, very selective of the words that they want to choose to represent what Gabby meant to them. And also, too, I mean, they FedEx or USPS overnighted these bracelets to us, to me here at WFLA. And I'm very touched, and I'm by the book. Josh knows I'm a by the book reporter. And I was just doing my due diligence as making sure that everything is being done here with the approval of the family, and it's all with love, and all of that, all of those loving words and that loving testimony is available to you. It's on WFLA.com. I'll read it here in just a moment, but Josh, that's where I was here for the last several minutes.
Pretty amazing. And I want to tip my hat to you, obviously, JB, because when you look at a scenario like this, it's easy for reporters and journalists to get caught in the cycle of the news and to not have any compassion or forget the compassion that a family in this situation needs. I'll tell you a real quick story. I know I have stories all the time, but this is one that sticks out to me very vividly. Back in 1995, my cousin was an officer up in Minnesota, was shot to death at a traffic stop. So when that happened, I was really young, but I remember I was at the house and I was dealing with the reporters that day. Since I liked journalism and knew I was going to go into news, my job was to take all the phone calls from all the journalists. So I remember being on the phone in the kitchen, and back then it was a phone with a cord on it, not a cell phone. And I remember answering the calls and listening to the rude reporters who were under deadline who said, we need this, we need this, we need this. And there was one reporter from a station up there who was so good and was so calm and compassionate. And he came to the house, we dealt with him, and he was a pleasure to deal with. And so I think of that when you tell this story, because the stress the Petito and the Schmidt family are going through right now is unbearable. First of all, to have a missing child is hell on earth, and to find that child is just as much hell on earth. So our compassion and prayers go out to the family for sure. But JB, the job you're doing, and to be able to handle that throughout the week and keep that in and approach it with such compassion is a job well done. So I appreciate that. I'm proud to be a part of this team. And I think this WFLA Now stream that we do every day, you see how many eyeballs are watching it. This is important information on a big case, and people want to know accurate information that's going out. And I think we really work every day to try to make sure it's the most accurate information we can put out there with our entire team. So hats off to this team and to you for managing that and taking care of that with compassion for this family. And I'm glad you're talking to them.
Yeah. And it really, this is not exclusive to me, everybody. This is a compassion and a duty to commit accurate or report accurate information. That's what the WFLA News Channel 8 and the WFLA.com family is all about here. So our wonderful team of reporters and investigative journalists and anchors like Josh on the anchor desk, we're committed to telling the story with compassion, with grace, and with the accuracy that, of course, the Petito and Schmidt families deserve.
So these bracelets, can you tell us a little bit more about, because people are asking, can I get one? Where do I find them? How do I get them?
I would love. So I asked that question to Nicole, and right now they said that this is a beloved family, and the Schmidt family is beloved in New York and in their community, and they've had a lot of friends rally to them and build these and make these bracelets, and they say that their local store is out of beads. We got to get beads sent to the family.